Look around you. The skyscrapers, the stock market, the internet, the fact that you're awake enough to watch this video right now. None of this happens without a drug. A drug that for a long time was completely illegal to export, condemned by religious zealots, and feared by kings. I'm talking about coffee. But to understand why this bean is a big deal, you have to understand the before times. Before the mid-17th century, Europe was effectively drunk for 1,000 years. Water was filled with bacteria and would kill you. So, from the moment you woke up to the moment you passed out, you drank weak beer or wine. Breakfast, beer soup, lunch, ale, dinner, wine. The entire Western world was operating in a permanent, low-grade hangover. Society was slow, foggy and superstitious. But then a dark, bitter liquid arrived from the East, and for the first time in centuries, Europe sobered up. The depressant was replaced by a stimulant. And almost overnight, the modern world began. The story actually starts in Ethiopia with a goat herder named Caldi. Legend has it he noticed his goats were dancing on their hind legs and refusing to sleep after eating these red berries. Caldi tried them, felt the buzz, and brought them to a local monastery. The monks, being monks, thought this weird energy was the work of the devil and threw the berries into the fire. But as the beans roasted, that smell, that incredible aroma hit them. They raked the roasted beans out, ground them up, added water, and created the first cup of coffee. They realized this drink let them stay awake for hours of midnight prayer. It was a miracle. Coffee spread to the Middle East, specifically Yemen, where it became central to social life. But it faced opposition immediately. Religious leaders weren't sure if it was allowed. When it finally reached Rome, advisors told Pope Clement VIII that coffee was the bitter invention of Satan, because it came from the Muslim world. They wanted him to ban it. But the Pope decided to taste it first. He took one sip and reportedly said, "This Satan's drink is so delicious that it would be a pity to let the infidels have exclusive use of it." He baptized the bean. Coffee was now holy. But there was a problem. The Arab world knew they were sitting on a gold mine. For centuries it was illegal to export fertile coffee beans. They would boil or roast the beans before selling them so no one else could plant them. Yemen had a total monopoly. If we wanted a global coffee culture, someone had to steal it. Enter Baba Budan, an Indian Sufi saint. On a pilgrimage to Mecca in the 17th century, he taped 7 raw coffee seeds to his stomach, smuggled them out of Yemen, and planted them in India. That was the first breach. Then came the Dutch. In 1616, a Dutch merchant managed to steal a whole tree and transport it to Amsterdam. From there, they shipped it to their colonies in Indonesia, specifically the island of Java. That's why you call your morning cup a cup of Java. But the craziest heist? That goes to a French naval officer named Gabriel de Clieu. He was convinced Martinique in the Caribbean would be perfect for coffee. He stole a clipping from the King of France's private tree and boarded a ship. The voyage was a nightmare. Pirates attacked them. A storm nearly sank them. They ran out of water. But de Clieu was so obsessed, he shared his tiny, daily ration of drinking water with the plant. He arrived in Martinique with one half-dead shrub. From that single plant, 18 million coffee trees were born over the next 50 years. That one plant is the ancestor of almost all coffee in Central and South America today. So the beans are out. They hit London. And this is where things get wild. Coffee houses sprang up everywhere. They were called penny universities because for the price of a penny, the cost of a cup, you could sit there all day and listen to the smartest people in the world debate. This was the internet before the internet. Before coffee, men met in taverns. In a tavern, you get drunk, You sing songs, you fight, and you pass out. In a coffee house, you get wired, you read the newspaper, and you argue about politics, science, and business. The Royal Society, the oldest scientific academy in existence, started as a coffee club at Oxford. Isaac Newton, Edmund Halley, the Comet Guy, and Hans Sloane all argued about physics and gravity over coffee. Capitalism itself was born in the booth of a coffee shop. Edward Lloyd ran a coffeehouse near the docks. Sailors and merchants went there to gossip about which ships were sinking and which were safe. Eventually, that gossip turned into selling insurance. That coffee shop became Lloyd's of London, the massive insurance market that still runs today. The London Stock Exchange started in a coffeehouse called Jonathan's. The New York Stock Exchange started in the Tontine Coffee House on Wall Street. Obviously, the kings hated this. Imagine being a king in the 1600s. You want your peasants dumb and sleepy. You do not want them highly caffeinated, gathering in groups and talking about liberty and rights. King Charles II of England tried to ban coffee houses in 1675. He issued a proclamation to suppress them, claiming they spread false and malicious reports. The public backlash was so severe, people were literally ready to riot over their caffeine, that he had to withdraw the ban just 2 weeks later. The addiction was already too strong. Across the Channel in France, the Café Procope became the headquarters for the Enlightenment. Voltaire, Rousseau and Ben Franklin sat there refining the philosophies that would topple monarchies. In fact, the French Revolution literally started at a café. In 1789, a journalist named Camille Desmoulins jumped onto a table outside the Café de Foire, waved a pistol and shouted, "To arms, citizens!" 2 days later, the Bastille fell. Even the American Revolution is a coffee story. After the Boston Tea Party, drinking tea was seen as unpatriotic. Drinking coffee became a symbol of freedom. If you see an American today drinking a bucket of coffee and an English person drinking tea, you are looking at the direct result of tax policy in 1773. Now, we have to talk about the bill. Because while coffee was fueling liberty in Europe, it was fueling slavery in the colonies. As demand skyrocketed, the European powers needed more beans than Yemen could provide. They turned the tropical world into a factory farm. The French, the Dutch, and the Portuguese cleared massive amounts of rainforest in the Caribbean, Brazil and Indonesia to plant monocultures of coffee. This required labour, brutal, cheap labour. The coffee boom of the 18th and 19th centuries was built on the backs of enslaved people. By the 1800s, Brazil was producing the vast majority of the world's coffee, an economy entirely dependent on the slave trade. That legacy is still here. Today, the coffee belt struggles with fair prices, climate change threatening the crops, and economic instability, all while we pay $6 for a latte in New York or London. So, when you look at that dark liquid in your mug, remember, you aren't just looking at a beverage. You are looking at the catalyst that snapped humanity out of a drunken stupor. It's the reason we have insurance, the stock market, and maybe even democracy. It's a botanical thief that travelled from Ethiopia to the stomach of a monk, to the greenhouse of a king, to your kitchen counter. We live in a caffeinated world. We are a species that decided we wanted to do more than our biology allowed. So we found a bean that let us hack our own sleep cycles. And honestly, we're probably not stopping anytime soon. If you enjoyed this deep dive, do me a favour. Hit that like button so the algorithm wakes up, and comment below. What's the one commodity you think shaped history more than coffee? Sugar? Salt? Let me know, and I might make a video about it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.